Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and one Supreme Court justice just made a massive, game-changing announcement. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those little things really help us out, and they help our channel continue to grow. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, you know what to do. Go to that address in the lower right-hand corner. It's youtube.com/@ExplainAmerica and hit subscribe, absolutely free. It really helps us out. Guys, there's been a lot of clamoring. First, it was the Democrats saying, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, she has to retire right now because we got to get Biden to pick somebody and have the Senate rush them through, which is not going to happen. There's just not enough time to pick somebody, have them vet it, go through the Senate process. It's not going to happen. And Sonia Sotomayor said, no, she's not doing it. Now there's some conservatives on the hot seat. Justice Clarence Thomas, Justice Samuel Alito. And people are saying they should retire. We haven't heard from Justice Thomas yet, but from people close to Samuel Alito, he's not going anywhere now. Could this change over the next 4 years? It could. I think it should. I think it's very tough to run the risk of your legacy being ruined because you got replaced by a Democrat. You could have a long stretch. You could have 12 years of Democrats. Now you're in your 70s and you got to stay on until you're in your 90s. Because you don't want a Democrat to replace you. In the same token, it's the same thing Democrats are afraid of. You could have a 12, 16-year run of Republican presidents. What do? You're going to have 9 members of the Supreme Court all be Republican? Could happen. And so I understand why everybody's concerned, but Alito says right now he's not going anywhere. I do want you to hear them make the case here, though, and let me know what you think in the comments.
Exactly right. Even if you have a qualified nominee, this is something that takes months, and it's unlikely they'd be able to get someone confirmed, which is why sources telling our colleague John Fritzy that she is not stepping aside. But we're also seeing these questions start to percolate on the other side for the conservatives. Some Trump allies raising questions about whether Justices Thomas or Alito should step aside and let Trump, President-elect Trump, once he's in office, appoint younger successors to solidify his conservative supermajority. Now, it's interesting. Leonard Leo, who is widely credited as being the architect of Trump's very successful strategy to create that supermajority and stack the courts with conservative justices, he entered the chat and he pushed back on these calls, saying, quote, no one other than Justices Thomas and Alito knows when or if they will retire. And talking about them like meat that has reached its expiration date is unwise, uninformed, and frankly, just crass. Notable that he weighed in here. We have to remember, these justices, they have no bosses. They don't tend to take kindly to calls for them to step down. The ghost of Ruth Bader Ginsburg looms large here. And remember with Justice Breyer, there were calls for him to step down in Biden's first year, and he took 2 years before he stepped aside. So it could be a little bit of three-dimensional chess here, not wanting to pressure these justices, because of course the goal is to retain that supermajority for as long as possible. But in talking to sources, it's clear that Leo really wants to draw a contrast with Democratic groups that really did try to pressure Breyer to step down, saying, look, we don't do that. But we know there's always a strategy when it comes to the court. So it'll be interesting to see if these calls get louder as Trump gets closer to Inauguration Day.
I feel like 70 is young, but everything's relative in Washington.
Especially for a Supreme Court justice. Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah, certainly. And who is